morning, y'all, and welcome back to my channel. Thank y'all so much for tapping back in to see what I have to say. I promise y'all, it truly does mean the world to me. But with that being said, let's hop into it. We're talking about Quant Network, okay? Quant Network and the rest of the ISO tokens. That includes things like your HBAR and your XDC and your XLM and your XRP and your IOTA. All of these projects that are providing infrastructure for the Web3 economy to thrive in the future. And of course, we know the ultimate of that infrastructure is Quant Network with the overledger, which connects all of them together seamlessly with zero lines of code, okay? That now governments and central banks and global standards have now tied themselves to. But more importantly, remember things like Project Stargate. Now, that was their project that Trump announced with Oracle and those two other gentlemen when they announced the $500 billion deal in America's AI and crypto, basically infrastructure, okay? So now, people have said before, Tether isn't holding up against like things like Mika, Tether will be, won't exist in XYZ. No. I don't think Tether is ever going to go away, okay? It's just what's going to happen is Tether is going to lose the market share, okay? That's just like in my last video when I was talking about how when the central bank was first put into place, they had to gain a market share. And then after they got that market share, you saw what they did with the rest of the country. Like I said, with executive order, 6102. Okay, follow me. And if you didn't look into that, look into it, because everything I'm saying is factual. That was the great buyback of 1933, after the central bank was established, and they got the people at dire needs with the highest prices they'd ever felt before, going into a global depression. But anyway, won't even go into all that. If you want to hear more about that, go watch that other video that I dropped on Sunday. I'll actually link it at the end of this. So stay tuned on this one and then follow on that one. All right. But with all that being said, now, alongside of Stargate, you have multiple other American distributed ledger technology companies that are doing amazing things like Hedera, like your XRP, okay? And several other projects, and I won't say her name them all. But what I will say is this. Understand with this first video what that means for them and indirectly Quant, because of course we know Quant is the granddaddy of them all. Without it, Web3, it would be longer for it to become a reality. But we already know that Quant Network has a globally patented technology that is now tied to multiple global standards and a internet protocol. Okay, I'm gonna keep saying this stuff because it's insane. But know that now that America just signed a new bill, yes, it was just pushed through, I believe it was like last night, and I'm gonna go to that in just a second. I'm talking about trillions upon trillions of dollars. It's like 4 trillion in tax cuts alone over the next decade. Another 4 trillion for this, another 1.5 trillion for this, another 4 trillion to pass the debt ceiling. But like, it's insane the amount of money that was just approved to flow through the American economy over the next decade. Insane. But it's going to do nothing but make the inflation in this country worse. I told y'all, prepare for a crash, but it's going to be a hell of a ride up. Like I said before, it's going to be called and be known as the Roaring 20s when history comes along. I promise you, go watch that video. It is very informative, and it will literally show you exactly what's being laid out right in front of us. But that amount of money that I'm telling you guys, it is trillions and trillions of dollars. I'm getting ready to play the video so you can see that it's not just coming from me. This is a clip from Fox News, okay? Follow me on this, you guys. You don't just watch CNN. Don't just watch MSNBC. Watch them all so that you have a full view and picture of what is happening right in front of our faces, okay? But follow me on this. They're talking about, in this clip, the new bill that just passed through Congress. Follow me what I'm getting ready to say. Y'all, this is a lot of doggone money that's going to flow through America, but more importantly, flow through America's technology and infrastructure. Follow what I'm saying. And by infrastructure, they mean things like your XRP. They mean things like your Hedera hash graph. They mean things like Quant Networks, literally overledger, because it is the global standard. Follow me on this. But here's this first video, okay? Stay tuned. I'll be right back.
The House passing its budget resolution in a narrow vote last night, 217 to 215. Kentucky Congressman Thomas Massie, the only Republican to vote no. Sources telling Fox President Trump helped get the deal across the finish line, holding a phone call with Indiana Congresswoman Victoria Spartz before she flipped her support. The one big, beautiful bill, as President Trump calls it, contains all of the president's agenda items, including $4.5 trillion in tax extensions, trillions more in spending cuts, and a boost in defense and border spending. It also directs $4 trillion toward raising the debt limit. Here's the Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, and Congressman Massie after the vote last night.
This is the first important step in opening up the reconciliation process. We have a lot of hard work ahead of us, but we are going to deliver the America First agenda. We're going to deliver all of it, not just parts of it, and this was the first step in that process.
Here's the deal. We are cutting taxes, and we're not going to cut spending to match it, so the deficit's going to go up. That's what this bill does. Over present law. We had a tax holiday for 5 years. The consequences of renewing that tax holiday are going to be to accelerate the increase in debt of our country. It's that simple.
Now, y'all saw on that screen, you saw when she flipped and you saw all of those different lines with all of those different amounts of money, and how many of those lines had the letter T next to it, and T like for another 4, another 2 or 3. I'm like, these are trillions of dollars that's getting ready to be made out of nothing. Understand what that's going to do for the monetary supply, and understand what that means for the sector of Web3. It is going to be known as the Roaring 20s, but right after the Roaring 20s happened, what happened in the 1920s? It was the Great Depression of the 30s. And we're going to go through a Great Depression. You mark my words on that. With all this money, but the ride up is going to be amazing. And that's all I'm going to say. When you have information, like things that is out readily available, when you see about certain infrastructure that's being laid, like an overledger that's tied to global standards, like HBAR, when you have all these different announcements that's tied to all governments. Also things like in America here, there's something called the Blockchain Association. It's out of Washington, D.C. It's both sides, the House and the Senate. It's the Republicans and Democrats working together. And if you see some of the distributed ledger technology companies that are already a part, go to Google, type in Blockchain Association. You will see that it is based in Washington, D.C. Go to the actual website. Go to the member section of the website. You'll see things like crypto.com. You'll see things like HBAR. You'll see things like Ripple. Understand the project that we talk about. Understand the infrastructure that's being laid, including here, because we're getting ready to get into a video about the American First agenda. And not just the American First agenda, but specifically for investing. Understand what is getting ready to happen. Because like I was saying, yes, Tether is not going anywhere. It's just going to lose its stronghold that it has on the market, because once all of this institutional money starts to truly flow through Web3, people don't understand. We haven't seen institutional money. This is all still retail money. You may have a couple people that got some money, but we're not talking about the real, true institutional money that things like with NVIDIA or NVIDIA, however you say that company's name. I always get that mixed up. But anyway, with NVIDIA or NVIDIA, however you say it, think about this. Think about it. In one night, last year, in one night, it went up $277 billion overnight. That's what happens when institutional money moves into an investment class. That's what happens when institutional money moves into something that they see value in. 277 billion. Now think about any of the cryptos that you sit in right now, and think about what would happen if $277 billion flowed in one whop overnight. Understand what this means for this entire sector. Understand that bill that was passed, all of this money that is going to be generated from this bill, and how much of it is getting ready to fall into technology and infrastructure. Now, this next video I'm getting ready to play, literally, they're talking about investment in America, the American First agenda. But look at what is the first thing on the list. And they are literally sitting side by side. And it is technology and its infrastructure. That's because the next layer of American infrastructure is its technology. It is Web3. It is the Finternet. It is literally the internet of value, the internet of trust. Follow what I am telling you when I'm telling you about these ISO tokens and what they have pulled off based off of their global partners, okay? But here we go, that next video. I'll be right back.
Get your take on this deal as it relates to China, because the president also issued a memorandum. It was America First investment policy, which limits China's access to U.S. capital markets. As part of this America First investment policy, the president wrote last week that it orders the Committee on Foreign Investment in the United States to block Chinese investments in sensitive sectors like technology, energy, defense. It also looks into new auditing standards. You're on the House China Select Committee. Tell us what you believe this America First investment policy is doing. Is this just sort of instructions for the major agencies to follow suit in terms of investment policy for America?
Well, this investment policy issued by the Trump administration is exactly the right policy. It's the America First policy. It says that we're going to stop financing the Chinese military-industrial complex, while at the same time we're going to continue to have an open investment environment in this country that will build our country's national security, invite benign investment, positive allied investment into our country, and we will allow investment overseas when it advances American interests. When it does not, we will stop it, we will block it, and we will not allow America.
Now, yes, was it a lot of stuff about China in that? Absolutely. But more importantly, horn in on what was actually being said about the investment and the American First investment, meaning you have these distributed ledger technology companies that are based in America, that were built in America. And then you have other ones that or weren't based or built in America, but has a very big American, brand like your Crypto.com that now have headquarters here in America, that was suing the SEC for unfair practice of the crypto market in America. And as soon as the Crypto.com CEO met with Trump himself, what happens? They withdrew that lawsuit against the SEC. Think about what's being put out right in front of our faces. Like I've said before, Crypto.com is going to be known as the Bank of America for crypto before the world. They're the first global 3-in-1. They are not trying to be, they are now officially a crypto exchange. They are now officially a bank, and they are now officially the American Stock Exchange. You understand what that means for the future of Crypto.com and that company being the first global 3-in-1, because they have more regulatory approval in more countries than any other exchange. Okay? Think about this. Why do you think they're a part of that blockchain association coming out of Washington, D.C.? Why do you think one of their board members sit on the I think it's the CFTC, and they were the first CFTC regulated exchange for up-down options. The first Crypto.com was. But anyway, think about this. Your Hederas, your XRPs, understand what is getting ready to flow into this market, and understand how it's going to affect all of Web3 that is generating literally utility based off of things having to be built on top of it and processes having to flow through it. Understand what is happening right in front of our faces, and don't fumble this ball. Okay, I'm being so for real, you guys. People look at the markets over the past week or so. The markets was down. But you wonder what Quant was wrong? Quant, QNT. It wasn't though. It was like, yo, I'm the little engine that could. While all of y'all going down, I'm like, bam, bam, bam. Why? Because I am the GOD token, as they call it. But more importantly, literally, I am a global standard. Literally, I am an internet protocol. Literally, I am the foundation of digital finance, meaning all of the banks will tap into overledger in some way. And I mean all of them globally. Understand what this means. And digital finance does not stop at banks. That also stops at you know, all of your big boy institutions like your Amazon. Why you think Amazon was a part of Project Rosalind? Understand, that's the largest retailer in the world. Understand, and Amazon has a RLN. They're themselves, you know, that regulated liability network that we talked about coming out of the UK. Amazon has one of those as well. And it was able to scale up to 1.2, literally, million transactions per second. I've done a video about it. Go check out my stuff. Understand, tapping into overledger. Understand, and you might say, well, how is that possible? There's something called the M10. I've done a video about that. And by that RLN, tapping into the M10, it gives it the capabilities to go up to literally over 1 million transactions per second. It has already been done. And I did a video about it with Amazon talking about how they were able to scale up that far. But anyway, I won't even go into all of that, okay? But just know this is the opportunity of a lifetime. To know about these assets and this asset class before the institutional investors come into it is incredible, because that means once this institutional money starts to flow through the Web3 sector, that is the reason why you have heard this literally administration do more about crypto literally than any other administration in history.
Keep the United States at the forefront of artificial intelligence and to end Joe Biden's war on Bitcoin and crypto. We ended that war totally. That war is over. They were very hostile toward them until the very end, just because there's so many people on Bitcoin and crypto that just before the end, the SEC came out and they were being very nice. I was so nice to people because so many people were being indicted for no reason whatsoever. Very political group of people.
Think about how many things that have already come out in regards to this administration, in regards to crypto. We have our first crypto and AI czar, David Sachs. What? Okay, cool. Then you have the House Agriculture Committee, Financial Committee, the Senate's Agriculture and Financial Committee, sorry, tongue twisters, come together with the AI's crypto czar and have a whole press conference in regards to crypto, stable coins, and the innovation of things like that inside of this country. AI, things of that nature. Okay? Then, after that, they go and have a 3-hour meeting in the House and the Senate. 3-hour meeting. It was so long. In regards to what? Crypto, blockchain, stable coins. Understand what's happening right now in 2025 and understand how you could truly capitalize off of the moves that are being made by the government and the central banks. Whew. Think of it from a whole nother lens. This is the reason why I started watching the G7 and the G20 and the World Economic Forum meetings and the BRICS nations meetings. I wanted to see what are the powers that be talking about. What is the World Economic Forum saying about crypto? What is the World Economic Forum saying about the Web3 sector? And once you listen to it and you're like, wait a minute. Listen to Larry Fink. Listen to who these huge, influential people who own the globe. No cap. Look up BlackRock. See how much stock they have in everything. Follow me on this. And when you hear what they have to say, that, you know, the next part of finance is tokenization. Well, what is tokenization? Come on, you guys, think. It is literally Web3 sector. How do you tokenize without Web3? Because it's talking about pulling it onto a blockchain, or what they call a distributed ledger technology. And the tokenization of those things are nothing but creating NFTs of them, but it's just a more sophisticated, advanced NFT. And with a player like Quant Network and their QRC20 tokens, literally, people say, oh, Quant is just an ERC20 token. Then you don't understand the technology. Because Quant actually has its own token, which is a QRC20 token. And literally, it is an interoperable token, which means once you hold your NFT or your tokenized, let's just say, stock, bond, treasury, gold, whatever the case may be, you can now move it from blockchain to blockchain to blockchain to blockchain without a problem, which is something that cannot be done with a regular NFT or a just regular tokenized asset. You better understand what Quant Network is providing for the world. Understand this is the reason why it's been tied to global standards, because it has been in the works for over 8 years. These standards have been in place for over 8 years. Quant Networks company has been in place for over 8 years. All of the patents, like the patents in America, the patents in Japan, the patents in the UK, the patents in the EU, the patents in China, the patents in India, the patents in Russia. Understand that when you look at those patents, you see that when it was applied for, it wasn't like it was 2020. No, they've been applied for 5 and 6 and 7 years ago, which means this has been a plan, a strategic, methodic plan that they have executed so freaking perfectly. It's insane. Gilbert Verdian, brother, my hat's off to you. I don't even wear hats, but my hat's off to you, because what you have been able to do with your software as a service that literally connects any traditional network, meaning your businesses of Web 2 or Web 3, literally seamlessly together with 0 lines of code, which means that it is plug and play technology. And what do you need for true mass adoption of anything? You need it to be very easily accessible, but you also want it to be secure and resilient. And what you have done, you have coupled your technology with governments and central banks, which means you have the people by the governmental side, so which is the whole public sector, and then your central banks, you have them all by your private sector, because that's who gives all of the other big institutions the money that they need to survive. Understand what has been laid out in front of us in 2025 about Quant Network and these other ISO tokens. And none of this is financial advice. These are all just my opinions, but I'm just looking at the writings on the wall and I am moving accordingly. So with that being said, I thank all of y'all for tapping in. I thank y'all for tuning in. And if you made it through this whole entire rant, type in America. That way I know, you know, that way I know you made it all the way through this whole video. I really appreciate y'all. Until the next time, y'all already know. Peace out.